certified fresh. That's right. 92% of critics say Rings of Power Season 2 is the best thing ever. Well, that doesn't quite match the audience score, which is not actually as low as I thought it would be. But I guess everybody's kind of tuned out who was going to tune out at this juncture. And that's what we're seeing on Rotten Tomatoes at this point. But there's more to the story here because they are losing viewers. It's a disaster for Amazon. It's a disaster for Prime Video. And we're going to get into the news in just a moment and look at some honest reactions on X about the current show. My name's John Delarose, everybody, and I am a #1 best-selling fantasy author, and this is my #1 best-selling series. So I wrote a beautiful book series, and it has its own lore that's wonderful. This is a 6-book series with a lot of great characters, a lot of great development, and you're going to absolutely love this. Now, it's very different than Lord of the Rings. It's my own thing for sure, but I did that intentionally. It's not like I labeled it Lord of the Rings like somebody else did with their billion-dollar program. So check this out. It's going to be a great one for your Labor Day weekend if you want to go through. We have audiobooks of the first 5 books out already, so you can check it out in ebook, print, or audio. And thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and supporting our efforts here. I mean, making us a bestseller is all because of you, all because of real readers who care about fantasy. And check out some well-written stuff today. It's in the description below. And again, appreciate you for being there. And do hit the like and subscribe button. Join us as we talk about all things Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, fantasy, science fiction, and more here. We're building a beautiful community of the toxic fans, as they keep going off on. We covered earlier this week on how the Galadriel actress already is doing the press tour, blaming male readers, or viewers rather, for criticism of the show. That's kind of been their whole deal, right? Saying, "Oh, men aren't gonna like this Galadriel." It's really cringy. And you know that, like, when you go on a press tour like that and you're not talking about Tolkien's excellent lore, you're not talking about Galadriel being the Lady of Light and such an elf sorceress, but you're doing this kind of thing, and then you're hyping up stuff about shipping with Sauron. I mean, the shipper stuff is absolutely crazy and it has no place in like Lord of the Rings of all things. That it's going to be a big problem. Now, I attempted to catch up on the show in order to start reviewing these things, guys. I started this about 2 months ago. And I got through the first 4 episodes. I couldn't do it. I fell asleep 3 times in the middle of it. And they're just so long. And it made me actually pine for The Acolyte, the Star Wars show, because the Acolyte episodes are like 30 minutes long. That the usual drama shows are about 42 minutes long. So they shaved off 10 minutes an episode. I miss that. I liked how short that was. That was a really redeeming quality of the show, how short it was. And it's a big failing of Rings of Power that these are 72-minute episodes. They're like full movie-length episodes where nothing happens. Despite all the lore stuff, you could go off on that for hours. You can go off on the diversity casting for hours. You can go off on the bad dialogue for hours. Just the fact that it's so slow and so little is happening is so painful to watch when it's that long of a thing. So you wonder where like this 92% comes from for these reviewers. What's happening here? You get into the top reviewers, the ones that people actually trust, 72%. Quite a different story right there. It's much more in line with the actual ratings that we're seeing from fans here. Now, you get into the critic reviews. Let's take a look at some, shall we? And see what some of these critics are saying about this. Dives deeper into malice of hatred of Sauron. The series wisely does not posit its figurehead as solely responsible for societal rot. Yeah, they're doing the thing with the villain. And I don't know why modern audiences, quote, love this, or modern critics, I should say, not audiences. But they actually say that, like, the villains need, like, these motivations. They're not actually evil. They think they're the heroes. That's supposed to make for a good villain. It doesn't make for a good villain. Sauron is evil. Sauron is the devil's agent. That's the whole point of this in Lord of the Rings. It's always been this way. And actually going out there and saying that evil's not evil, it's just misguided, is a really, really weird take, and it doesn't ring true in a fantasy setting like this whatsoever. It doesn't ring true in life whatsoever. If you obviously, God is good, the devil is bad, and if you're worshiping the devil, you're on the track to evil. It's very simple. The devil doesn't act like the devil just because he had a bad childhood or somebody else is responsible. That's ridiculous, and it makes for a bad story, especially when you're getting into an epic fantasy like this as well. Crazy stuff. Ups the ante in season 2, but still takes the time to explore various sets of characters. Now, this is a review that's clearly a quote positive review, but they're you notice how they're just describing things. They're not actually saying anything. It ups the ante. It explores characters. Oh, well, I mean, doesn't every show do that every episode? They didn't actually say anything about the show. That's not very much a review right there. So one of the poorer reviews, familiar characters such as Galadriel, a raft of original ones who are thinly drawn and unremarkable. They melt into one another. There's no one to root for. And that actually is how I feel about the show. That's why it's been so hard to watch for me getting into this. Series abounds in radically unexplained mutinies. Absolutely true on that front as well. The top critics, not so well. Oh, Mary Sue. Let's see what the Mary Sue has to say about this. It returns stronger, darker, and more intentional in season 2, as if it's found its sea legs and is sure where to go. Thankfully, the mystery box setup is gone. Yeah, this was painful about season 1, and honestly, if they got rid of that, like where it's like, what's happening? We don't know what's happening for like 8 full episodes of those 72-minute episodes. It was confusing and painful. It really was. But I don't know that it's getting any better. I mean, I've watched a few clips of things, and I've talked with John Trent from the Trent Report, a wonderful channel that covers these stuff as well, if you guys don't follow him. He watched the first episode and told me all about it in detail. And he said they actually made Sauron into a spaghetti monster Cthulhu thing, which, oh God, that's just flies in the face. That's not what it's supposed to be based on Tolkien's work. But these people all just work in generic tropes, right? And so that's how they have to do things. So it is thinly made. Everything is thinly done, including like the stuff for Sauron. But it looks like it's losing viewers after the first episode, despite releasing 3 episodes at the same time. There's a number of IMDb reviews for the first episode of season 2, and the third episode already decreased by 50%. So 50% of people who went and reviewed this didn't get through to the third episode, it looks like. Absolutely crazy. Now, they all released at the same time. They released together. You're supposed to watch them all at once. But, I mean, that's a big ask. You got 3.5 hours of content here. That's like you can go back and watch like the extended cuts of the old Lord of the Rings movies, which were much better, obviously, rather than deal with this. And you see like a very similar story of like a 3-star, 3.5-star kind of thing. That is exactly what we're seeing on IMDb. Or on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think, honestly, like, you might think, well, if it's this bad, why is it there? I really think the pretty sets, the window dressing, people go, they tried. And I think they go with it. And that's exactly why it's at that point right there. But that kind of a viewership drop that quickly is a very, very bad sign. It shows that a lot of people watched that first episode, then kind of tuned out because they just don't want to deal with it. It's like me. I tried to watch the first season, and I just didn't want to deal with it. Every time I like have an hour or even a half an hour, I don't want to watch a half an episode and put myself to sleep. Like I want to go watch something else or do something else, and that's a bad sign for this. It's a bad sign for Galadriel as like a lead, that she's just not interesting enough to carry the show. Elrond is also like just not interesting enough to carry the show. The Black Elf, not interesting enough to carry the show. I don't know what they're thinking. So Nerdotic says there were 32 people at our free, fully booked 2-episode screening, and a dozen left after the first episode. Nobody could sit there through more. Some reactions on X. Let's look at this right now. This show is beautiful. That's the tweet. And that's the thing that, again, it's going to get enough of the audience like giving it a 3 or 4-star review because, hey, pretty window dressing. Okay, cool. Yes, they spent a lot of money on the effects. I get it. They really did. Amazon sent out pre-written reviews to influencers to post. They all read the same bold letters, same content, lots of them dropping just now. How embarrassing. I haven't seen this for any other show on this scale. This is something I'm going to actually have to investigate further. This is a big deal if this is actually true. But we'll take a look at that perhaps in another video. Elrond has seen some terrible things. Okay. This is pretty funny. This is like a little AI kind of thing here, which is making fun of the show that people are enjoying today. who's excited from X-Wing right here. Oops. And then let's see. I'd rather watch this. Thank you. Lord of the Beans. Top 11 things the Hobbit movie did better than Rings of Power. That's a pretty good quality post right there. The best way to watch Rings of Power is to not watch it at all. But if you insist, then pretend it isn't related to Tolkien's works at all. And I think that's what you have to do to watch this show, because it really isn't. It's a higher budget, straight-to-video fantasy show with bad acting and decent special effects. And that's what they got here. So, yeah, it looks like the normal viewers of this, I gave the benefit of the doubt after 26 minutes into the first episode. I could say this is bad. Why do they try to rewrite Sauron for modern audiences as someone weak and no one's afraid of? The orcs were like, whatever. So this is pretty interesting. You could see that the reactions are not where Amazon would like it whatsoever. It's not going very well. The viewers probably are tuning out, probably even halfway through the first episode, and it's just sad to watch. All right, leave a comment down below. Are you watching Rings of Power? I would love to hear from you. Are you going to get all the way through it? Should I catch up? Should I catch up and actually review this show? Let me know if you want to see my reviews as a professional fantasy writer. And please do check out my professional fantasy writing. This is good stuff. The plot's developed. The characters are likable. You're going to love this, especially once it gets into like book 3 and 4. I mean, I would love to hear from you on this too, because I love how I built this world. And just like, you want to talk about a first book, like kind of ramp up and then it goes full bore. This is what I did here, and I think you'll enjoy it. Grab it for the weekend today. Grab the whole series. Get it on audio. I appreciate you guys for being there. We'll be back soon.